Hey guys, this is Anthony from Wannabe. Today we're going to be reviewing a car that's got a couple special features and is near and dear to my heart. Today we'll be reviewing a car with 4 doors. It's a hatchback and has a manual transmission. Probably weren't expecting this, right? You know, the Mazda Protege. Mazda is a top tier car company, and what they pulled off with this thing is, salutes them as one of the GOATs. Please change my mind. Also, if you're selling an RX-7, I might want to make some bad decisions. Someone give me an FC or an FD, please. So Mazda is really a top tier company. They've done a lot right. The RX series, honestly, hands down, is one of the best drivers series cars of all time. The Miata is the answer, hands down. I know it, you know it. What happens when that sports car company takes everything that's great about their sports cars and throws them into their daily drivers? When you take all those factors into account, the Protege is really a sports car at its core. You have parts from a Mazda literally inside the car. It's actually insane and kind of ridiculous to think that this thing could share parts with the NB or some pieces with an NA. Mazda guys, please correct me if I'm wrong. There's a front strut tower bar under the hood. You know what that means, less flex. That's the sports car things. And these are all factory options. And it's got a fun little 2-liter that doesn't rev super high, but just pulls and sits in gear and just revs all day long. It's the perfect recipe for a front-wheel drive car that's absolutely fun to daily drive wherever you go. It's got 4 doors and it's got a hatch. I mean, what more compromise do you need? Oh, by the way, did I mention this thing is 34 miles to the gallon? 34 miles to the gallon. I cannot emphasize that enough. God, how did Mazda manage to do it all? It saves on gas, it's fun to drive, like, it's got a hatch, it's got a roof rack. This is one of the last great fun daily drivers that you could go ahead and actually purchase. So, I mean, how did it slip under our radar? It doesn't really make much sense. And yes, it's gonna sound crazy. On paper, it's like, what is this guy talking about? It's a Mazda Protege. Who's heard of that? No one talks about it. But every time I stop and meet someone, you know, a little bit older, just like, man, I remember having a Protege back in the day. Or man, I remember wanting to go get a Protege. Like, and also the Protege 5, this example, absolutely great because it's extremely practical, but there was a less practical version. The Protege 5 Mazda speeds were a little bit more sportier and a lot more fun, but you know, for what you pay for on this end, you know, you get everything. I mean, you could pay for a WRX, but you're gonna pay twice the price to get one. So even though this thing's a hatchback, it's actually pretty light. If I'm not mistaken, this thing weighs in at 2,800 pounds, which makes it really light, and handling is really great. It's really tight, really precise, and compared to a lot of other cars I've driven, I have to do a lot less input to get exactly what I want. It's kind of like backwards for me because I'm such a quick steering driver that I actually find myself like, oh no, you're turned in too much. Like, just wait, take a second. The engine is a 2-liter Mazda engine. It has 130 horsepower, but no variable valve timing. So it's a real slug. 0 to 60 is like 9 seconds. But God, does it make some great noises. This car actually has 1 mod, 2 if you count the shift knob, the hybrid racing shift knob, an HKS exhaust. So I went with the HKS high power for just the exhaust, and it's the only mod I really needed to make that woke this car up. 100% well worth the money paid. Did I also mention that this is a wagon? So you could basically fold the seats down and put a bed in here or throw all your car parts in it, take a nap, because you have all the space in the planet. It's like, look at this. Look at all the space. That's the Protege. The Protege has all that space. Obviously, groceries, not a problem. Set of wheels, not a problem. I just want to talk about the styling for a second. This car honestly looks pretty fantastic. It's got wide style body flares. If you look at the car, it's very early 2000s styling, but the whole kit's factory. It's got side skirts, a front bumper, rear bumper, and fender arches from the factory. Like, what? Literally, all you gotta do is dump this thing on some wheels and some lowering springs, and it's pretty perfect to look at. Even stock, it's not too hard on the eye. My favorite things are those big rally-style fog lights. The roof rack is always a plus. And did I mention, you get to live with the joys of a hatchback. Hatchback. Now for the part that you've all been waiting for. Oh, yeah, driving. I can't wait. Immediately the first thing that's kind of noticeable is the engine. And that this thing rides incredibly smooth. I'm pretty sure that the suspension on this thing is gone, but it rides better than most other things I've driven. Lots of vibrations do come through the chassis because it is kind of light. Like, there's something going on that side, you can kind of hear it, but like I'm ramping through big dips. That's a guy and a dog and he didn't stop. Cool. This street is pretty bad. Like, pretty bad, and I'm just kind of running through here. No problems whatsoever. Initially, clutch is kind of funky. It's one of those things, honestly, after probably almost a couple months now, I'm still getting used to. I still find the clutch bite really kind of awkward. This is to match the throw of the shifter and really kind of meant to be slow. The thing about this shifter, that's like one of its downfalls. It's like really nice tight steering, but the shifter, the throw is really long, and the clutch release is just kind of funky. It's more on the higher side, maybe that's a personal thing, but it definitely is suited for the regular people. You know, this is a very get in and drive type of manual transmission vehicle, and it's not bad. Downshifts, really nice. Okay, cool. Here's a little twisty bit. From that kind of monster trucky mode, and then you just downshift and let the engine rev out. It's only 70, by the way. And you just kind of switch between the beauty of it all whenever you want to. A downshift's kind of like a flip of the switch. The engine's fun enough to where you give a little downshift, run the rev out, and it's just good enough to put a smile on your face. And the engine noise is very good for what you're getting. The engine note in this car is very Honda vibey. Obviously it's a 4-cylinder, but I didn't expect it to be so close to like old school B series as it ended up being, or as it is. It's not super loud in here either. I hope that you know, you guys are getting generally good audio quality as compared to the S2000 video, because I had to yell. Here, no, it's nice. It's kind of calm and quiet and serene. Below 3K, fine and modest. A little buzzy above 3.5, but nothing too crazy. Nothing to really complain about. But it's just kind of fun just to like dab up there and shift over. Like I said, God forbid a 9-second 0 to 60, but it's not about how fast it is. It's literally just about getting there. Getting there for me is the fun part with the engine. Like, how can you be mad at that? And then you're down. It's really hard to find something that does everything really well. And this is absolutely great compromise. Like, absolutely
great compromise between drivability, sports ability, and livability. Like, you don't need anything else. You really don't need anything else. Right hand direction. Engine kind of laggy. I can't lie, the response isn't quite there like I'd like it. Then again, there's not much to ask for. This thing's on a stock clutch and flywheel. It only revs to 6,500, and it feels like it's geared short, but because of the lack of variable valve timing, it just takes a while to get there. For a while when I was driving this, it was kind of hard for me to figure out where the power band really was. A car that doesn't have variable valve timing will take a little bit longer to, climb through the rev range. But it was just a weird sensation because I'm used to cars that always have variable valve timing, which, there's always a seamless transition between low end and high end. But aside from that, once you get used to it, you realize that this thing isn't obviously meant for ripping up to $7 grand. But it's all about the journey getting there, and it's really fun to do. God. It just puts a smile on my face every day. Like, I'm glad I can live without a compromise. That it's so versatile, and when you have something that can do everything, like, you just don't need anything else. In a way, I could do more sports car. What's the deal? Oh god, it's a deal. This is one of the greatest unknown kind of driver's cars of all time, I think. There's nothing that really does it all as good as the Protege really can, in my personal opinion, and that's why I think it's a great, fun, daily sports car. Yes, there's pros and there's cons, but it's for the price you pay. Like, you can't really ask for much more. There's a great chassis here. There's a fun engine. Transmission could be a little bit better, but when you have something that does everything well like this thing does, there's not much more you could ask for, especially at this price point.
That's the beauty of the Protege. It's a fun, everyday driver. You can keep the compromise of the sports cars at home, but you can enjoy having a sports car or having a fun car every day to drive that does all the things that you need to do. My question is, how did we miss this? How is this still kind of one of those cars that, not a lot of people bring up in conversation or aren't actively searching for? For me, this may be one of the best sports cars I've driven. And I can kind of say that because I live with it. This one's mine. For me, the Mazda Protege is an absolutely fantastic car, and if you don't believe I word, and if you don't believe a single word I'm saying, go ahead and go drive this car and let it impress you. Thanks for watching, guys. You have a good one. Peace.
Can I get spicy yet? I bought 2 cars with eggs. This ain't cheap anymore. This isn't a game. It's been like 3 months. Somebody lower the price of eggs. How much are chickens? This is ridiculous.